From the Stache, where reality and podcast collide within the music industry, with your host, James Davis McAllister. From the Stache Podcast.
Welcome back to another From the Stache podcast, and I'm your host, James Davis McAllister. And today I have the Failsafe from Minnesota. I have Chad, the drummer, and I have Jesse, the vocalist, and I have Cal, the lead guitarist. Go ahead and introduce yourselves a little bit more. I guess we could start with vocalist Jesse. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so a little bit about me. Lead singer of the Failsafe, which we're doing the podcast. Pretty boring dude, I guess. Prompt taxpayer. I guess you can throw that in there. No, something interesting. Well, besides being in this band, which is very interesting, at least for me, I got 3 awesome dogs, and I'm friends with a guy named Chad, and I'm friends with a guy named Kyle.
That works. That's a good icebreaker. Okay, Kyle, your turn. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Play guitar in the Failsafe. For my day job, I work as a web developer. Outside of that, like, my whole life is based around music and playing guitar for the most part. I've got a solo YouTube channel where I make content on there. And I also have another band with Chad called 4 Chord Story. It's like an acoustic side project that we do.
That's hell yeah. Appreciate it. Can you turn yourself up just like 1 or 2 more notches for me?
Sure. How's that?
That's perfect. That is beautiful.
Jesus, Kyle, this is why we can't have nice podcasts.
No, it's all good. At least we got it good now. All right, Chad.
I am Chad. I am the drummist. I also play in a little side project with Kyle called 4 Chord Story. Shameless plug. No, I've been with these guys for quite a few years because we actually were in a band previously together. So these are some of my bestest friends, and it's very cool when you get to be in a successful project with people that you admire and respect, and just very thankful to be a part of this group.
Okay, stemming off of that, I hear myself in somebody's. I don't know if somebody is. I think I'm good now. Okay, we're good now. So with that said, playing with your buddies and people you admire and stuff, how'd that come about? How did you guys become a band?
I could jump in on that. So we were in a band previously together, the 3 of us and another person, and that band ended up breaking up. And we still wanted to play music. The 3 of us did. And so we kind of used that as an opportunity to kind of dial in a little bit. The previous band, it was kind of all over the place. There was a lot. It was pop. It was rock. There was a guy singer, a girl singer. It was just, we didn't pick a lane. And when we made this project, we definitely had more of a direction. And with that, we were able to, I think, harness more of a loyal fan base in return. It just seemed that we just had more people enthusiastic about the band just because it had more direction. So we had just basically more diehards, and it just made it more fun to play, honestly.
Well, I think a big part of that too is that, like, in this previous band, like, I was on drums still, you were still singing, but we had Kyle was basically playing bass, which is obviously not, he could play bass phenomenally well, but that was not his main instrument. Guitar is his main instrument. So once Kyle jumped over to guitar, where he's supposed to be, and started writing, I think that really kind of opened up the floodgates for, the success, because you and him just kind of just jumped on this writing tear that just really kind of helped define our, started playing the guitar for this band. So I think that was kind of in my opinion, kind of a defining moment as well.
Almost definitely.
I've noticed, like, it's funny you say that you have a more like direct sound now. Yeah, I'm still hearing myself a little bit in somebody's. I don't think it's me. I'm not sure. It's very real faint. It's not that big of a deal, but it'll, as I spoke on prior to this, it'll drive me nuts later. But I listened to a little bit of your guys' music, and I've tried to put my finger on what because I try to peg bands, and I know I'm a vocalist myself. I hate when you get dubbed in, oh, well, they sound like these guys, or these guys, or these guys, or whatever. But you guys are so versatile, because wasn't expecting that. I was expecting metalcore. I'm not gonna lie. When I listened, I was like, well, it's probably be a metalcore band. The name almost fits it. The look kind of fits it. But I heard everything in between and more. Complex guitar riffs, drum fills, dynamic vocals. Not just one way road. Vocals. It was. I think I told my fiance, because I showed her you guys, and she dug it, and I was like, she said it kind of reminded her a little bit of All That Remains.
Oh,
and I had to agree to her too. I had to agree with her to an extent on that, but again, I can't put my finger on the pulse. So like, where did you guys get? Now I know you guys each have individual influences, obviously, but as a band, is there like an influence or like a sound or something that you guys try to achieve as a band, or does it just come naturally in the writing process?
I will definitely say that there's things that we know what, when we were writing something and we realize it's what we don't want, we're able to find that pretty quick. But a lot of it does come from influences. Myself, I like a lot of pop. I like a lot of rap. I like a lot of hip hop. But I also like a lot of melodic rock as well. And I know Kyle has a lot of metalcore influences and just general guitar influences, and he's extremely talented. And Chad has more of a punk along with kind of like an old school rock or new metal influence. And so we kind of come together and we say, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking. And then we try not to, I guess, put ourselves in the box, but we also don't put ourselves in the box. And when we hear something, hey, I think this sounds like it would belong in this category here. It sounds a little dated. How we sprinkle in some of this influence on it and flip the sound. So there's a lot of that goes on.
That's interesting. Now, in your area where you guys are from, what's the scene like up there? I mean, I know like the whole Corona, I don't know if there even is a scene right now, but like prior to that, what's the scene like up there? Because I got to be honest, I'm an Ohio boy. Sure. I don't know much about the Minnesota scene.
I guess I'll speak on this, and hopefully I don't piss off any listeners, but there is a scene in Minneapolis. In my opinion, I think the scene has been the same scene as it's been for 15 to 20 years. It's kind of like the same people are still holding on to the dream, still pushing the same, playing in front of the same people, we're playing at the same bars. And it really wasn't evolving. And we really weren't pushed to move past that until we really started looking outside of Minneapolis, started looking at the regional scene, started looking at bands like Archers from Wisconsin, looking at bands like Qualia from Illinois, even Divide the Fall. They're partially from Wisconsin, partially from Minnesota, but it was bands like that we got a chance to play with that we wanted to rise to that level, basically.
That's I knew back in the day I used to book a band from Wisconsin. Sleep Therapist Sleep was their name. And they were kind of big, but I think I know what you mean. Like, I'm from Ohio, which our music scene it's booming. It really is. And it always has been since I've been in since 17. I'm 33 now, but I'm from a smaller area, so it wasn't like that. So I know exactly what you mean. And you see that band though, go that extra mile, and you're like, oh man, we can break out of here and do that. So with that said, do you guys have, and it's kind of jumping the gun here, I mean, we got a lot of other shit to talk about, but do you guys have anything planned, or are you guys kind of just like, and show wise, I mean, like touring or anything like that? Or are you guys kind of just pumping the brakes on that because of the, COVID?
So we're in the works right now. I mean, we actually did play a COVID show back in August just to test the waters. There was no shows going on in Minneapolis or any really shows going on in Wisconsin, or the ones that were kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, concerning, I guess, or dangerous, so to speak, or they're higher risk. So we actually played a show in Illinois just to test the waters, and the show did it was at 100% capacity as far as tickets sold. Problem was they were booking 25% building capacity, so like maybe 100 tickets sold. We played in front of like 30 to 50 people by the time we were up. We got paid like $150 for the show, and we spent $200 on gas. So
yeah, that's well, I just had a show last night. I book shows for a living.
Okay.
That's what I did prior to the whole Corona thing hitting. And when it hit real hard, that's when I started the podcast. But there's still a select few. Well, they're not venues because anything considered a venue is not allowed to operate right now. So I'm booking more or less at like holes in a wall. And last night we had a situation, like that, where it's just, but it was actually capacity because it's a private establishment, and people know my views on how I feel about the situation and stuff. And of course, precautions are taken, and I do respect other people's, beliefs and thoughts and stuff. So, but I didn't expect it to be the way I show up at 5:00 and there's a line around the building for a local show, dude. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, this is crazy. This is how bad people are, in my area, because they're used to shows constantly, that they just want shows. And I got to tell you, I kind of feel guilty in a way, but in a way I don't, it's because it's literally like the only venue open around here. And it just kind of keeps some sort of pulse because, it's, back to being a booker. I book like a lot. Well, I booked a lot of bands. Well, there's not very many bands left anymore. I'm booking mostly rap. So a lot of the reason for booking is keeping these bands relevant and wanting to keep doing it. It's such a lack of bands. It's crazy. So I would assume, is it like that up there? I would imagine. Do you guys have trouble finding like genre shows?
Yeah. Go for it.
Well, yeah, definitely post-COVID, there's like nothing going on here at all, as far as I know. Like our lockdown restrictions are very strict here. So, but prior to COVID, like, yeah, there was definitely most of our shows, I'd say, we were playing with bands that are similar to us, and the audience would like everybody that played, that sort of thing. There also were shows that we did that had like ragtag bills, but
we try to avoid those.
That was mainly in the early days, I'd say.
I book a lot of mixed genre anymore, and it's not out of want, really. A lot of it's out of necessity, and I've noticed too with like the mixed genre shows, it does bring a larger fan base. And I had now that this isn't all cases, but a lot of cases, man, the bands and the rappers walk away from it, and they've garnered a couple of new fans from a new fan base or whatever. So I would imagine that you guys would prefer to play with bands similar to your genre.
Yeah, most definitely.
Is that safe to say?
In my opinion, I don't think we've really had a situation where we walked into a variety show basically and left with more fans besides the people who heard about us.
We're already there, right?
And it just kind of, we leave there bewildered, and the show usually short draws.
True.
Yeah, honestly, like,
damn,
I don't think shows are nearly as effective for getting more fans as just being active on social media these days.
100%.
Like,
yeah, you're right.
Like, basically, once we realized, COVID was going to be a long-term thing, and we need to find a way to stay relevant as a band, I basically just said, all right, I'm going to put all of my effort into just pumping our social media and reaching out to people. And basically our Spotify numbers have grown 5 times as much since I started doing that. This was even after we were a band for over a year. So it's just in this very short period since August, when we really started doing a lot of effort.
Just to kind of go into that a little bit, let's say we would do a weekend run through like Wisconsin or Chicago or, someplace, we'd play multiple shows. We would make enough money to, make something to cover our bills essentially, and may put some money toward rent. But at the end of that weekend, aside from some merch and everything we sold, we maybe got like, 10 new followers on social media. And it just didn't.
That would be a good show. 10, like more often than not, it was like 5 or less.
Yeah, seriously. So it's definitely, COVID's been a game changer in that regard. But for the bands who are willing to work hard and, do, especially what Kyle's been doing, busting his ass, it's been an equalizer.
That's how I found you guys. I don't know who it was. You guys messaged me on Instagram. Your guys' release for the Punk Goes Pop release, and some people don't like that. So, me personally, I dig it because I always check it out, and I find new bands that way and stuff like that. And I respect the hustle. I get what you're doing. Because I've been there and done it, and I still do it to this day. And that's how I found out about you guys. So that's and I'll say this from a how do I work from a managerial aspect. Numbers on social media are fucking everything, unfortunately, but they really truly are. Like when it comes to you longevity, like if you want to get signed or get attention from a label, whatever, you better have at least 20,000 Spotify spins, like monthly, or they're probably not going to consider you because it's not worth their time, because a lot of labels and things of that sort. And I don't even know if you guys are even shopping or anything like that, but they want someone who's kind of established a little bit. They don't want to have to build somebody from the ground up.
We've even had a couple of people inquire, labels inquiring now, just based off what we have now, which is not a ton. But
I'm not shocked. You're real diverse, man. It's like, for lack of a better term, you're like a sore thumb, but not in a bad way. In a scene of such cookie cutterness, man. Like you're okay. Let's think of a better metaphor here. You're like everything's super cookie cutter. I mean, for the most part, you're going to hear that a lot with a lot of bands. Especially starting out or local bands. But you guys are so. I mean, in my opinion, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I think that you guys are so diverse that and correct me if I'm wrong, and you may experience this already, when you play shows or with other bands, you have to stick out. And I mean, to me, at least if I booked you, I'm going to book you with bands similar to you, but damn, to get bands that sound like really close to you, like almost, hand in hand, would be damn near impossible, which is a good thing again. So I think that you guys will, if you keep up what you're doing now, I mean, yeah, the sky's the limit, dude. Like keep that diversity and never conform or whatever. So how long, first of all, how old are you guys? Chad, we'll start with Chad.
I am 36 years young.
36. Jesse.
And I'm
Cal.
29.
Benno
29.
25.
33. Okay.
Yeah, Benno's the baby.
I think he's 26 now. He just had
he just turned 26.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's all. It's always good to have that young that young meat in your band. Keeps you youthful. That's inspiring, man. I'm 33. I kind of hung it up. I'm a vocalist myself. I kind of hung it up and started booking and stuff like that. I had a kid, long story short. So it's inspiring to see like you guys just head forward. Is it's safe to say that this is the most serious you guys have ever taken a project?
Yeah, definitely for me.
For sure.
I can say the same.
Yeah, it's because I have to say Cal has been on my ass about this podcast. He has been, hey, and which is good. That's good. I need that. But he's been, hey, are we good? Are we,
I'm on your ass because these guys are on my ass. Yeah.
Well, no, it's good, man. So I'd assume you kind of take the again, lack of a better term, the parent role of the band. Like, are you more of the managerial
in some respects
leader?
We kind of have we separate our roles out pretty well in this band. I think actually Chad is an audio engineer, and he handles all the engineering for our stuff, and he puts in a ton of time.
Oh wow, that's a blessing.
He's the real MVP. And then Jesse, we have a management company not handling booking for us now, but in the past he'd done a lot of booking. and he's still he is our primary channel through which we talk to our manager and stuff. And I handle social media primarily, and then reaching out to people that want to collaborate with us and that kind of thing.
So, are you guys, and I hate asking bands this, I'm just interested in myself. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Are you guys shopping for a label? Are you guys I know you mentioned a couple of approach you. Are you guys in any talks? Are you allowed to talk about it? Or are you NDA'd out of your mind?
So James, we're basically, we had infrastructure from a previous band to the point where we have a recording studio that Chad owns that we record at. We do the majority of our own music videos. We finance or do like pre-orders for merchandise. So at the end of the day, there's very little a label has been able to do to us, is because my question to all the labels has been, what can you do for me that would justify us giving something to you or whatever they're looking for that we can't do ourselves?
That you're totally right, though. That's see, I was curious at how your mindset was, because in this day and age, especially if you're spreading the workload out amongst you guys, you don't need a label, man. A label, basically, I mean, distribution was what bands, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that was 90% of why a band would want to get signed.
Yeah,
was because of distribution. Well, now you can just get CD Baby or put your stuff on iTunes or Bandcamp or Spotify or whatever. There's so many, and it's cheap. It's not that expensive either. And plus YouTube and stuff. Plus, with you guys having the engineer and the recording, I mean, you're cutting thousands and thousands of dollars out of, just the recording process. So yeah, I mean, okay. So light bulb just went off in my head. Have you guys considered, and maybe it's too much work for you, but to help finance your dream per se, and maybe you guys already do this, do you help any other bands with engineering or production or management or anything like that?
Anything like that goes our way, we basically point to Chad and just give it to him, because
Chad, this is Chad's side business, is engineering stuff for other people. So
if there's any bands out there listening that want to get recorded,
yeah,
hit me
absolutely.
up. If you like what you hear on our record, I could do the same for you.
So then, Chad, how long have you been doing the engineering, to the point where you feel confident enough to release music? Because I know a lot of people, it takes them a while to get
Oh man, I'm still figuring that out, and I think every engineer who's worth their weight is still figuring that out, just because the technology is so actively changing, and you have new plugins and new techniques and new shit all the time. But I mean, I got my formal education in production and engineering 12 years ago. And I just kind of jumped right into it. I didn't take the time to intern. I was like, screw this. I'm doing it full bore. So I'm actually technically on my third studio right now. Each one has kind of progressed as I've progressed. So I've been confidently putting out music for 10 years as a producer engineer.
That is. Do you remember your first piece of music you put out?
If I'm ever having a bad day,
what was it?
I'll go back and listen to that and be like, well, we're better. We're better. Things are fine. So yes, it was actually my first ever recorded piece was something I did in college, and that's what really sparked it for me in college. Is I was the only one that had any kind of recording technology at all for my band, and so we did a record, and that's what really sparked the interest. But good Lord, going back and listening to that thing, it's like, I really sincerely hope no one ever hears this again.
Oh, come on. One of these days, somebody will hear it like, man, I miss that raw sound. Everything's so
raw. It was definitely, yeah. No, I agree. And we're guilty of that to a certain extent as well. But I mean, it's the genre, it's the style. I mean, some things you just kind of, we're no dummies. We kind of know what we have to go for. And so from a production standpoint, sometimes we do kind of stretch it to that limit. But that's just part of the process.
Yeah, it's almost like post-production has become an instrument in itself for artistic expression.
Absolutely. What's that called? Not like plugins, but Joey Sturgis has a lot of them.
Okay.
Yeah, plugins. Okay, plugins. They become, Dave Felton Gravy, ex Mushroom Head guitarist, one of my co-hosts, he was telling me how he never ever in his entire life, and he's almost 60, he's never used plugins. He's always done his own presets and stuff and he said it's so much reliant now on, people are just plugging in these, presets, and it's that, there's no differential from the next band to the other. So now do you guys, I mean, I would assume obviously you're going to use some plugins, but do you guys try to, differentiate yourselves by making your own or not using them, or approaching that in a different way than just, okay, well, I'm going to slap a Joey Sturgis plugin on this and it's going to, make it sound the tuning or tone sound just like this guitar.
In terms of samples different, we do a lot of keyboards and different things in our sound, but I do a little of, I think we coined the term ghetto production, that have kind of defined or have kind of given us some of our unique sound in our instruments or electric or our samples and keyboards and things like that. Just little things they're pretty like just basic things, but they're not always together.
The last CD my band had made, we layered a lot, and I'd never really done that. Even vocally, I scream and sing. I do all the vocals, but like we would put, a high, a mid, a low, maybe even two lows on one track, and then, and of course the guitar stuff we didn't, unless it was doing guitars, with the guitarists and stuff. But vocally, I'm curious, Jesse, because you have such a wide range. Do you do any type of layering, or how does your process work?
It depends. I usually try to get away as much as I can, but so if I'm writing a song, if I'm writing a song, just to start from the scratch demo, this is what I give to the band, and not all of it ends up there, but the essence of it does. I like to add not just doubles, but I like to just straight melodyne an octave down on my lead vocal and just tuck that into the mix just to give it some extra grit. Sometimes I'll use a vocoder for texturing that it's just layered in there and tucked in. Just little things. So it creates a bigger or larger than life sound, or just it sounds. I guess I like to say the term unique, but it's not 100% unique. It just gives it some grit. It gives it some character, I guess is the best word.
It's funny you say that, because you remind me, I call it butt rock, which it isn't a bad thing, because I'm talking bands like your primary vocal to me, like Chevelle, Breaking Benjamin, Seether, like in that mold, that rock voice, like the good ones though, like not I'm trying, like not Nickelback, nothing like that, man, like the ones with nuances and things like that. But it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. I had that kind of spin to it, almost like an All That Remains again. I guess you could consider them radio rock. Well, there we go. That's a little bit
rock. Where did that come from again, Kyle?
It's like the radio stations that would have a thing like, you're listening to 92 KXLR. Well, we play nothing but rock. So.
And it's like Seether and Shinedown and stuff like that. Which, no shade to them, I mean, in fact, I think a few of those bands on the radio are like Chevelle. I love Chevelle. But so, all right, Cal, I'm curious. So lead guitar is your main instrument, right? And you play bass as well. Do you play drums too? Are you
actually,
a drummer somewhat?
I do. I actually used to have an electronic kit in my apartment that I sold because I didn't have that much time to play it anymore, and it was taking up space. But I do play drums as well.
Okay, so now I'm real curious. So the writing process with you guys. I'm just going to take a shot in the I'm going to take a shot in the dark and make myself look like an asshole here, and you guys get to correct me. I'm going to guess that Cal probably sits down, tracks some guitars, and then Well, I'd say if he still had the electronic drums, he probably even would track some, just basic drum tracks. But I'm gonna say that he writes the guitars and then goes to Chad, the drummer, and then they get together and he expands on that. And then they bring the other guitarist in, and then Jesse comes in last. Or am I completely fucking off?
Yeah,
It's it all
I'll
together.
tell you how
and
it
I'm just
kinda
so
works.
off.
So all three, basically me, Chad, and Jesse, we all have ideas that we have. So Chad actually also plays guitar and bass, and Jesse plays guitar. Um, and so we all just have ideas, but we have different kind of perspectives from where we start our songwriting. Um, like I would consider myself a bottom up songwriter. So I'll start with like one part of a song that I think is cool and then like try to expand the song from there. And then Jesse, I'd say, is more of a top down songwriter where he usually comes up with like a cool vocal hook or something, or just a general idea for a song and then builds a song out of that. And then Chad also is kind of along both those lines, but we'll basically come up with ideas and just record demos of them. We've all got, some amount of recording stuff in our own homes that we can use. And, we'll just record a demo and send it to the rest of the band and be like, what do you guys think? And then, if other people will jump on it at that point and add more to it. So it kind of works that way.
That's definitely been a game changer, at least for us, for writing, is that we all have Logic Pro, which is a recording software for those of you who don't know who are listening, but we all have the ability to write to.
I want to thank McAlpine Meadery for sponsoring this episode of From the Stache podcast, located at 10035 Johnsford Road, Beach City, Ohio, 44608. Phone number 330-756-5019. Again, 330-756-5019. They take passion in brewing high-quality European-style artisan honey wine known as mead. It's available in 87 retail stores. It's also available in 36 different states to your front door. You can order online at www.mcalpinemead.com. Again, that's www.mcalpinemead.com. Hours of operation, Wednesday 4 to 10, Friday 4 to 12, Saturday 12 to 12, bands Fridays and Saturday nights. Thanks again to McAlpine Meadery for sponsoring this episode of From the Stache podcast. Now on to the show, folks.
Compose, and then we share these files and we upload these files and we download these files, and that essence of songwriting, I think, is so drastically different, not necessarily better or good, than sitting in a room like you guys used to before recording technology and like just pounding it out. I think by doing it this way, it's just opening it up to so many different realms of creativity that you just weren't able to tap into before.
Yeah, and we do also write some stuff together. Like we have actually one of our new singles that we're just wrapping up production on. We actually just literally the three or I'm not really sure if Benno was there, but we just got together at Chad's place and basically banged out the song like all together. So like we still do some stuff that way.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Musicians and bands out there listening, this is exactly how, if you want to take music seriously, you should approach it. That's phenomenal that you're all capable of that. I think that being able to bring everything to the table, everyone, I think that's huge, man, because it speaks of versatility. And that's always been, I'm a vocalist, man. That's what I am. That's all I am. I've never been, I can read sheet music and stuff like that, but I can't write music. I can come up with simple ideas and stuff, but I could not sit here and compose a song or even the bones of a song or whatever. Lyrically, of course, and I think that's always been my downfall as a vocalist. And it's always been something that, and I'm not too old to go back and learn or whatever, but I wish I would have taken the initiative when I was younger, instead of just trying to be this rock star lead singer, and took the initiative to truly learn the backbone of the music, the drums, the guitars, the bass, the, how it's written, how a bridge goes into a chorus, or how that is written on an instrument aspect. And I've always envied, I've always, my experience is bands that do that, do what you guys do, are always the ones that tend to be, around 5 years
And
from now.
I think we forgot to mention one of the most
It's-
important aspects of this, which is our fourth member, Benno. He is our fine-tooth comb. So he has just an ear for perfect time, perfect pitch. He can tell you when something's too much, too little, and he can tear something apart, and we are grateful that he does.
Drives me nuts, but I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, dude, I know that feeling all too well. But man, I just wrote the best verse ever, and then guitarist looks at me, he's like, "Nah, man, there's this, and this." That is good to have, and especially him being the young buck, being that attentive to detail. That's got to be cool, looking out for you old
Exactly.
Yeah, we just
whippersnappers,
had
you
that
old
experience. We were
boomers.
wrapping up a mix basically, and I thought we were done. And he's like, "Nope, we got to fix this." And this sounded. It was such minute things that I just, because I've listened to the song a million times before, but I never thought of it having those kind of young, fresh, and he's very musical just in general. I mean, obviously, he's a bass player, he should be, but he understands. He's an interesting bass player in the sense that he really looks at it from the aspect of a song and not just as an aspect from a bass player. Like he really looks at all the elements and is able to recognize what works and what doesn't work, from timing, from pitch, from melodies, from a bunch of different stuff. So it's been very, as frustrating as it's been sometimes, thinking I'm done, then all of a sudden he's like, nope, we got to fix these a bunch of things. At the same time, it's made us better. It's no arguments made us better.
Yeah, just one last point on this is a big strength that this band has that haven't experienced as much in other previous projects is we have the ability to articulate our ideas or what works and what doesn't work. So if something doesn't work, it's just not, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. This is why. Here is an essay with references and like it's
right. It's a professional approach as opposed to, I don't like that dude, that's a huge respect thing too, like, yeah, you never want to be told like, oh, well, no, that's wrong or whatever, and especially like in a demeaning way or whatever. I think that being able to approach things democratically, and being able to, sit down and that's always been, I've noticed in my bands, like it's always kind of been a downfall because for one reason or another, somebody had to have it this way and their feelings got hurt or, and maybe that's because basically every band I've been in, like the 7 bands I've been in throughout almost 2 decades, they were all, I think one of them I was in with friends. All the other ones I was recruited as the vocalist. So I didn't know these kids really or anything, like they just knew I was a vocalist and they wanted me to be their vocalist because I wasn't in a band at that time for whatever reason. And so I think with what you guys have, that friendship, it's rare because I mean, even looking at touring bands and stuff like that, you can look at a lot of them. I mean, there's 1 or 2 original guys left there, and that's with most bands. And I think a lot of it is, it's my situation, not your situation, because your situation, you guys can talk it out, move on to the next, thing, but otherwise, people's egos and personalities get hurt. So with that said, what is the recording process like? Do you guys, how long does it take? And I know it could take a month for a song, a week for a song. It depends. But how long does it take typically for you guys to, for the listeners listening, a scratch track, like in the studio though, not like something you're going to send new, Cal or Chad or Jesse or whatever. You go in and you're recording a scratch track or whatever. How long does that process usually take?
There's a couple of things out here. Our like Logic tracks that we pass around, they're with our plugins, they're fairly high quality. So those,
they're already scratched.
Our demos are rival them against some local bands' finished recordings. I mean, not to toot our own horn, but we try to make sure that our demos are on point.
That's important, going back and listening to it, because the whole point of a demo is to correct, and or to expand or whatever. And I think the better you can have that sounding.
Well, plus it excites
the better
us.
it's gonna
Like
end up overall.
I mean, it's the whole bright shiny object in the room theory. Like, something's presented to us and it sounds good and it's a good song. You get excited about it. It's like, oh, damn, I can't wait to write a drum part for this, or I can't wait to write a vocal hook for this, or I don't know. It's the bright shiny object in the room kind of theory. If it sounds good sonically, it just kind of gets you more pumped to work on it. At least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So Jesse, with lyrics, do you write all your lyrics? And also, do you place the lyrics in the song, or do you have help placing the lyrics in the song? Like, do you take input, or how does the lyric
I'm
and
always
the
open
vocal
for
process
input,
go?
but I don't get it, so I'm usually on my own on that. So there's a couple different ways I go about this. Number one, no matter what, I just come up with a vocal hook. That's the most important thing. And then I go into what I call vocal mapping, where I basically just start drawing dashes instead of just for the syllables of the hook. And then separately, right, I write lyrics with the hook in mind, but I just write lyrics just to write them. And then I just start filling it in. Yeah,
that's very similar to how I do it too. That's great. That's almost exactly how I do it. So how often do you write lyrics, right? Your first set of lyrics, you put them in the song, and then how often do you go into the studio and go to record that you have to? Well, no, because you guys do it differently. I guess you don't have to do that very often. See, because like I would practice, and back to what you said, I'd make the guys play the same riff for 2 hours. So I could get it down, and then we go to record it and be like, and we record it. Oh my god, I got.
There was a song we were doing. We just got done recording 2 songs, but the second one, it was the one that they were talking about that we were all kind of just sitting at Chad's house, just writing it together. I was just dying. I could not come up with lyrics for the life of me, and I was just like, God, I can't come up with a good hook. Can't come up with lyrics. And then like the next week, I just sat at home and listened to it a couple. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, here it is. And everything just flew out of the pen.
So, Cal, what is your influence? What's your mindset going into writing a song?
Obviously, as a guitar player, I'm always looking for, or when I listen to other songs, I'm looking for what's like cool guitar riffs and stuff like that. So that's usually what I start with to write a song. But I'd say kind of in general, we sort of have a formula that we kind of stick to, as far as just, we tend to stick to, the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus formula. We don't really deviate from that. And I guess kind of what I try to envision for this band is that, we can be a band that sort of marries a lot of the cool, like guitar stuff and metal and all that sort of things, but with, a more traditional song structure that, it will draw people in more, so they can kind of get the best of both worlds.
No, I agree. That's why my fiance dug you guys, because she's into that, right? The melodic, the metal style, but she likes screaming, but not a whole lot. She's very particular in it. So I think you hit that right. If that's what you're going for, I think you're doing a damn good job at it. All right. Well, Chad, what do you? Okay, so as from a drummer standpoint, what's your
it's
your
kind of
mindset
funny because
going
it's been interesting, the newer stuff that we've been coming up with, because it's been more technically challenging for me. So if nothing else, I'm becoming a better drummer, which I'm thankful for, with this newer material that we've been coming out with. So because a lot of times Kyle will write the initial, and I'll elaborate on it, but he'll come up with the core drum part just because he needs to, because he's writing the drums, and he wants to, like, where there's certain double bass fills and certain intricacies and certain things to match the palm muting and stuff that he's doing. He'll write that out and give it to me, then elaborate on it, which I'll do. But it's definitely been a challenge for me as a drummer with this new stuff, which I'm excited about and nervous about, making sure that I'm able to hit these parts correctly. And so it's just, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but it's been kind of a fun and nerve-wracking challenge here with the newer stuff that we've been writing, just because it's really, for the first time in a while, it's been a definite challenge for me as a musician, which I think is good in terms of kind of taking me to the next level of being a musician.
Oh, no, you answered it. I mean, you answered that good. That was a good answer, honestly, because, and it's cool to see and hear you say too, at 36, you're, still learning and you're being challenged and you're willing to accept that challenge and, you're not settling. And that's a good thing. There's it's kind of off reference and stuff like that. There's a band, Ocean's 8 Alaska is their name. And they have a drummer, Chris Turner is his name. And my drummer, Austin Mulaney, shout out Austin Mulaney, love you, dude. He does drum covers on YouTube. And I sent him an Ocean's 8 Alaska song, Escapist. And he's like, dude, I can't play that. And I was like, what do you mean you can't play that? And he's like, dude, he whips out jazz brushes in that song and shit. They're like metalcore. They're like post-hardcore metalcore. It's really, really good shit. You should check them out. He's like, I can't do that, dude. There's no way. And I think that, I don't know if this is with you, maybe it's a drummer thing, but a lot of the drummers I have worked with, they sell themselves short. It seems like that. So in this case, who in the band is that guy that's like, man, I just, this has been a struggle, or I can't get it, or is anybody like that?
Chad.
Yeah, I'm the definite pessimistic from my own musical standpoint. Like, I'm definitely like, I don't know if I can get it. I don't know if I can get it. I'm struggling. I don't know. And I guess it's kind of like the old adage, like, if you expect a dog to bite you, you're okay if it only craps on your shoe. So like,
I get it. Listen, I have the same exact mindset. Like, I I get it. Prepare yourself for the worst, I guess. But it's I think that any good musician, I heard you guys say, all of us think that way, and I think any good musician does, man. I don't think I think if you don't, then I think if you're satisfied with yourself, or like just think you can do whatever or anything, and you don't have any nervousness or anything going into it, I mean, I don't think that, A, you should be doing it. And then B, that's just a wrong attitude to take, because I mean, perfect example, 36 years old, still growing, on drums. I mean, I know me, 33, and I'm sure Jesse could say the same. I'm still learning my voice at 33. It's crazy how, time and plus the people you work with too, like the people you're in bands with, motivate and stuff. Okay, so you guys released Punk Goes Pop style song, and
Yep.
it can be found on your YouTube, right? Yeah, and which is just, is it We Are the Failsafe, or is it The Failsafe?
Yeah, it's our YouTube channel.
For YouTube. The Failsafe. Okay. And do you have any plans here in the immediate to near future of releasing anything, or are you holding stuff close to your chest?
Yeah, we do have plans. Like, we don't have anything, like, basically we just wrapped up production on a couple new singles, or we're nearing wrapping up, and we're actually planning on. So Jesse, I mentioned before, lives in South Carolina, and the rest of us live in the Twin Cities. So he's gonna fly out here in February, and we're for a week, and we're gonna take that week to do get a bunch of stuff done for the band, get a new photo shoot done, shoot a new music video, record some new stuff. Like, we got a whole bunch of stuff planned, and basically we're gonna try to get a new release ready for March. So that's probably when we'll have our next song out.
So are you, I've noticed a lot of bands doing this. I noticed that, like, all rappers do this for whatever reason, but bands I know do it, why they do it. Are you guys going to take that approach of just releasing singles as opposed to
and then here's
an
why.
EP,
so
or
basically every time you put out a new single is a chance to land on a Spotify curated playlist. And you can do this once a month. And so basically the people who choose these songs that get on the curated Spotify playlists are basically like the people who decide what bands blow up and who doesn't. And like, and so basically our goal is, you know, we want to just put out singles as frequently as possible because it's, you know, a new chance that we have to try to, you know, get a ton of exposure basically. And I think eventually, like once we've got like maybe 5 or 6 songs out, we'll package them up and put an EP out. So I think that's going to be our forward.
I like that idea. There's a band called Protest the Hero. They're from Canada. They're from Canada. That's what they've been doing a monthly subscription, right? So they have a website, and they release one song a month. And I think they have been, I think, for like the past years, unless they stopped recently or something. But they kind of, you know, and I think that's the right approach. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, there's a lot of money that goes into release, like a CD or an EP. If you're going to pump that all out at once, you know, you're going to probably need to do, you know, to cover cost. Well, fortunately, you guys have Chad, but again, his time isn't free, you know. But I think that the approach you're taking, it's also a safer approach too. Not only is it smarter business, I didn't know that about Spotify, but I think it's a safer approach too. You know, and it allows a song to stick, you know, especially when a band's trying to get out there. And I preach this all the time, especially to rap artists. Don't release too much music. You know, they'll release like an EP 1 month, and then 2 months later they're releasing singles and stuff for the next piece of work or whatever. Do you got, is that the ultimate goal though? I would assume, like you said, you want the EP or whatever. Now, do you plan, see, it's this, I can't even ask this question, man, because of COVID. I was gonna say, do you plan on like touring on those 6 songs for, you know, the immediate future? Blah, blah, blah,
as far as shows go, we have some,
but I guess
some tours that have been coming up that we've been looking at. We've been negotiating. Some are coming to us as early as March, but we just thought that was too soon for people to want to come out to shows. So we're looking at potentially mid-April to be touring again. But it really depends on the bill. What is it going to be worth our time? So we're doing that.
If it's lucrative,
yeah. Just to kind of go back into what you're saying about the album. So we dropped our first album, and we were so excited to do it. And we basically, on Spotify, we got the album together. We were able to submit one song from the album to the playlist, which we didn't get a bite. So we dropped this album on there with zero exposure whatsoever. So it was like a waste of 12 songs.
Yeah. We didn't know any of this stuff going
into
essentially,
it, and,
man. We had to learn it the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right. What are your thoughts on Reverb Nation?
I don't really think it's relevant.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of outdated.
Really?
Reminds me of MP3.com.
Yeah, it is. It's like a MySpace type of model. I'm just curious.
MP3.com.
What's that? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Do you guys remember Pure Volume? I love that site, man. MySpace, all those. So I'm trying to think here. Now, do you guys have a website? Do you guys have merchandise, like a website or
yeah, so
plug that real quick.
We've been running throughout the month of January the pre-order promotion for a bunch of new designs that we have. And so you can check it out. And actually today is the last day for the pre-order stuff. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Good job,
okay,
James.
But we've met our goal for how many pre-order sales we wanted, and people can still go and buy shit on there. It's just
that's awesome. Now, are you guys doing it yourself? Like I'm just curious from my standpoint. Like, are you guys printing it up private vendor, or are you using a private Teespring, or are you using something like that?
We put it in a bulk order. You know, they do very good quality print and embroidery. And, you know, they're going to ship it to us, and then we'll just have it on hand at that point and ship it ourselves. I've heard from some friends and other bands that Teespring does not have very good quality. So, like, I don't know from experience, but
it's I mean, I know some people say it's good, some people say it doesn't. There is different qualities you can pick of shirts. You know what I mean? Like higher up, blah blah. And I think a lot of it is too you got to be careful what designs you put on there and stuff. I mean, my recommendation because some people just can't afford to go get merch, and Teespring would be the way to go to get started or whatever, because merch can be expensive. I would just say you put the name of your band or whatever in a font on it. You know, don't try to put a design or anything crazy on it. So how I know me as a band, and this is kind of a dumb question,
It's
but
everything.
how important is merch to a band?
Your main way of making money at this point.
Touche.
Yeah, especially those shows going on. It's like, yeah, that's our lifeline. That and streams.
Yeah, it's, I book tours sometimes for like In Vogue Records, and there's this group called Arkham Agency, and they deal with a lot of back ends and things of that sort, right? Where the venue will get, a cut of the merch. And I always make sure that I don't do that, because I know that merchandise is the bloodline of bands. It's so damn important, just just what you put on it. And, if you're going to put lyrics on the back, and it's just such a crucial part of development of a band. And the reason I asked, I was just curious to see what you would say about that, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that merchandise is king when it comes to money, because a lot of people say, well, if you're making music to make money, probably shouldn't be doing it or whatever. But like you and I, we get it. No, it's not that we're making it to make money, but we do want to do this for a living, so we got to treat it like a business.
A band is a business.
A business is business, and that's strictly financial.
I can give out, that's how you have to think about it.
It really is.
It's kind of interesting, though, like how really 10 years ago, what used to make money for the bands was the music, and merchandise kind of came secondary. And now it's like we give away music in the hopes of people buying merch. It's kind of like it's been an interesting parallel or paradox to watch happen over the last several years.
Wow, you know what? You're right. Yeah.
No.
Wow, that is weird. Do you think CDs will ever come back?
Obviously, it's and why would
like
they?
Records did.
They're still like not gone. Like people want them as a piece of collectible memorabilia, I guess. Something the band members can sign.
Right.
But yeah, why would you? You have this tiny little computer that you put in your pocket that has every song in the world on it. So I mean,
right. And you can make like cards now that people can.
One thing
scan
I wouldn't mind doing at some
whatever,
point in time, because this is on the rise, but will it ever get back where it was? No, but vinyl, I always thought it'd be kind of dope to do a.
That's what vinyls. That's why I was kind of going with that. Yeah, like Dance Gavin Dance and bands like that are, releasing vinyls, and I mean they're gone instantly. But of course they have a huge. I mean, they're arguably the biggest, post-hardcore band in the world. All right, I got a couple more questions. They're goofy ones. Well, okay, first, this is kind of serious here. All right. I'll start with Chad. Give me a couple influences of yours, whether it's bands or drummers or whatever. Maybe it's guitarists.
Oh, well, from a producer standpoint, just in terms of how I like to model my life after, is like Adam D from Killswitch. Just because he plays an extremely successful band, he produces a lot of other bands, he engineers a lot of other bands, and like if I could design my life, that's what I would do. I would be in the Failsafe touring, and then when we're not touring or writing a record, I'm helping other bands with their records. So that would be like the dream, is to kind of do what Adam D from Killswitch does. And that cracked me up.
And winning on The Price is Right.
So hardcore to see him win The Price is Right. That was just a magical moment in time. Oh man,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
But like musically, like I'm definitely I can't break out of the early 2000s, and Jesse gives me infinite amount of shit for this. Like I love bands like AFI, Rise Against. Dude, I remember because I grew up in California. I remember watching AFI at like a coffee shop with like 150 people. Oh, did they really?
They just signed to Rise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. They released some new material. That's crazy that you say that's awesome, dude. I got tons of.
They
Well, I
they
got
they
3
changed the
AFI
way I
tattoos.
perform
I
live. Like the first time
love
I saw them,
AFI.
I was like, "Holy!" There was no pyro, there was no lights, there was no nothing. It was just pure energy, and seeing them like on a molecular
3
level
dudes.
change the way I play live. And so, from just a musical standpoint, from a performance standpoint, AFI has a very, very special place in my heart.
That's why I sing.
Davey
That's what
Havoc.
made me join choir, so I could sing like a girl, like Davey
So,
Havoc.
but yeah, I mean, other bands like I'm a
No,
giant Breaking
that's it.
Benjamin fan. I do love Chevelle. Metallica was the band that got me into hard rock and metal in the first place. So, I mean, but then again, I really like, I'm a big fan of singer-songwriter music. Emily Kinney is a big favorite of mine. Uh, so I'm kind of across the board in that regard. And then it's kind of funny, for a long period of time, what paid my bills in the studio was doing hip hop and R&B. And so that definitely, going from a rocker standpoint to having to adapt to a whole other world of music, just kind of opened me up to another world of music as well. So that was kind of a fun period in life.
I hear you on that. Like, kind of having a transition, even
Yeah.
without wanting or whatever. But it does. It leads to different paths and things like that. That's awesome, though. That AFI. That's badass. All right, Jesse. No offense to Chad or Kyle, but this is the one I'm
My
most interested
influences
in.
definitely
What are
changed
your
quite a bit
influences?
here. From a vocal standpoint, I would say Hands Like Houses.
Wow, that's the first time I've ever heard
Hands
that.
Like
I
Houses
never gave
is a
them
good
much of a
one.
chance.
Paris, although I'm not a chick, but she, just her songwriting and her production. Bring With Horizons is another big one. And as far as my samples and that side of things, a group called Dance with the Dead, I've been really influenced by lately. It's a 2-piece synthwave band, no
I'm not
vocals,
familiar.
but
They're foreign,
I'm
aren't they?
listening to it for the samples because they use the same shit I do. I don't think so.
Are they foreign? No. I'd say usually those bands with the juicy samples or groups with juicy samples are foreign.
Yeah.
That Back to the Ocean in Alaska, they got
Otherwise,
a lot of samples.
that's about it.
Foreign.
I guess, yeah.
So
Yeah, so
that's okay. What about you, Cal?
like growing up, before I started playing guitar, I was really into pop punk a lot, like Blink-182, Green Day, and those kind of 2000s emos band, yeah, Good Charlotte, Fall Out Boy, that kind of
Good
stuff.
Charlotte.
And then when I started playing guitar, I very quickly got into Metallica, and that's how I kind of built up my chops. And then I was really into like 2000s metalcore bands like Bullet for My Valentine, Trivium, Killswitch Engage. But as far as what influences on the band, or at least in my writing for the Failsafe, I kind of, look at what newer metal and metalcore bands are doing, like Bring Me the Horizon, Architects, stuff like that. Recently, Spirit Box, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're fucking, they
I
came
just
out of
got
nowhere
familiar.
and
Holy shit.
just blown away by how good they are. Yeah,
she's something else, man. Well, the band overall, it's just something
Chad,
else.
You're
the whole group. I shouldn't say she.
You like your
the whole
old
group.
music, but like you should check out this Spirit Box band because they have a female vocalist just like you like. So.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yep.
Yeah. Listen to at least 5 songs too, like, because they're all gonna be different. And I couldn't believe one song. That's the same group. What the hell? Yeah, it's phenomenal. I like that genre bending type of stuff like that, though. It's there's no limits. They just do what they want, and it's eerie too. It's creepy. It's spooky.
Yeah,
I got you. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Oh, okay. I thought I might have. I was like, damn, they're being awful. Okay, well, we're like an hour in, so we're gonna wrap it up. But is there any last things you guys want to say or shout out? I'm gonna link you guys down in the description and everything.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I'll just, reiterate about our merch. It's on our main website. We are thefailsafe.com. That's where you can find it. We've got T-shirts, hoodies, hats, tank tops, CDs, all kinds of good stuff, some sweet designs. So please check that out.
Yeah, I always do this for like the bands. I always say, first 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 people that hit me up. If they've listened in this far in my inbox, I'll pick up.
I do want to give a shout out real quick to just from an audio engineering standpoint, my second pair of ears, who's really been helping with my mixes recently, my buddy Augustine Ortiz Jr. He's actually mastered a couple things for us. I just want to give him a quick shout out for just being a good dude and just helping me with and helping the band out with our masters and stuff like that. So quick shout out to Augustine. Yeah. He's definitely got a producer name for sure.
Name too. Jesus, dude.
And then of course,
sounds like a Greek god, dude.
Our fans, just thank you so much.
Well,
They're, it's every little thing that you guys do for us, whether it's a shout out on Facebook or a tweet or a retweet or buying a CD or buying a hat or whatever the case is, like any little thing that you guys do, no matter how small you guys think it might be, it's big to us. And we're just so thankful for you guys doing what you do to help us do what we do. I mean, that means the world to us. And we honestly just can't thank you guys enough for being a part of our family. And we appreciate it.
Hell yeah, that's fans, you don't realize, man, how much it truly does mean. They ain't blowing smoke up your ass, man. Each and every one of you means a hell of a lot to. I mean, even this podcast, each listener means a hell of a lot. Well, I want to thank Chad, Jesse, and what is it, Beno? He couldn't be here, I guess, or he isn't here either way. But shout out to him, and shout out to the Failsafe, you guys as a whole. Really appreciate you guys taking time, being patient with me on my scheduling. And hopefully when you guys get some more stuff out,
that'd be awesome. We'd love to be back, and thank you for taking the time and wanting us to be on your show. I mean, it's all about people helping each other out and exposure and things like that. So just thank you for introducing us to your audience. We appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for having us.
Hey, no problem, man. That's what it's all about, dude.
Thanks.
Yep, no problem, guys. Take it easy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Kathla Clothing, available in over 300 different outlets, including online as well as physical stores such as Zoomies. Yeah, this clothing company is no joke. Top-notch quality, fair prices, and amazing designs. Amazing crew, amazing people. And I'm not just saying that because they sponsor me. I mean that wholeheartedly. You can also find their merchandise at www.acathlaco.com. That's www.acathlaco.com. Maybe mention my name from the Stache podcast, and who knows, maybe you'll get a discount or something. Stay tuned for future giveaways and promo codes. Once again, I want to thank Brian and the Kathla Clothing Company family for sponsoring this video. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. Now let's get on to the cast.